Part 71. The Conspiracy, Righteous. This research was taken out of the Great Bible Fiasco, pages 27 to 28. Vespasian could not replace the old gods of paganism, but in the creation of the new religion of Catholicism, he acquired the title of Most High God. Revelations 12:5. And she brought forth a son, a man-child, who is to shepherd all the nations with an iron rod. Vespasian brought forth a son, Titus, to rule as a murderer and thief. Roman history revealed a brutal and merciless people. From every corner of the Roman Empire, they ruled with an iron fist. On every Roman trail, blood flowed. Vespasian knew all about their bloodied history. He designed the religion to present himself and Romans as righteous, but he had to find a scapegoat to brand as villains. He chose the Jews, who were presented as evil people who rejected God's law. This conspiracy comes directly from the Bible. 2 Corinthians 5:21. Him who did not know sin, he made sin on our behalf, that we might become the righteousness of God in him. Vespasian turned Jewish law into sin. Simon Jesus was not aware that Jewish law was sin. Vespasian made Simon a sinner on the Romans' behalf, so that in Simon, the Romans were righteous. Romans 4:25. Who has delivered for our offenses and was raised for our justification? It was the Romans who violated Jewish law. They crucified Jesus Simon for the violation of Roman law. Titus was appointed Messiah. Romans 8:3. For that which the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God, sending his own Son in the likeness of the flesh of sin, and concerning sin, condemned sin in the flesh. Roman law was powerless to change Jewish law. Roman law was weak against Jewish law. Vespasian sent Titus, who was resurrected from the sinful Simon, who was put to death because of his belief in Jewish law. Simon condemned Jewish law with his death. The Romans twisted Jewish law to their likeness of Roman law. This tactic made the Jews pagans, Gentiles, and of the evil race. Isaiah 53:5. But he was wounded because of our transgressions. He was crushed because of our iniquities. The chastening of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we have been healed. Simon Jesus was killed because of Roman violations and evil sanctions against Jews. Roman power gained strength through Simon. By appointing Simon as the Messiah, the Romans were successful in their creation of Catholicism. This tactic gave the Romans absolute power in the world. Matthew 16:18. And I also say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. Catholicism was built upon Simon Peter, Jesus. He was the rock the Catholic Church was built upon. Nothing would stop Roman marauders with that concocted arsenal of Catholicism. A common practice by Romans was to invade foreign lands, nab everything and mold them into Roman customs. They captured the Jewish law and converted it into Roman law. They looted treasures and livestock, burned and destroyed Israel. Based on the religious concoction, the Jews were viewed as evil people and God as righteous. 1 Timothy 1:9. That laws are made not for good people, but for the lawbreakers and criminals, for the godless and sinful. God's law was Roman law. Jews became sinners, pagans and Gentiles, and were considered unclean. Jews were the murderers and thieves. It was the Jews who were depicted with blood on their hands. They were against God's law in every way. Romans 13:2. So then he who resists the authority opposes God's ordination, and those who oppose will receive judgment to themselves. The Jews were punished for their legal rights. Romans 9:19. You will say to them, why does he still find fault? For who withstands his will? God hated Jewish law and Jews. Romans 13:1. Let every person be subject to the authorities over him, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are ordained by God. God did not approve of Jewish law. Romans 13:3. For the rulers are not a terror to the good work, but to evil. Do not want to have no fear of the authority. Do what is good, and you will have praise for him. Everything Jewish was illegal. Jewish law was not good. The Roman conspiracy made the Jews scums of society then, and it continues to this day. The propagation of their hatred towards Jews came directly from the church. The Jews were not God's people by love, but God's people by hate. It is inconceivable to think that Bible believers are followers of Jewish prophets by using the term God's chosen people. It was completely misunderstood and should be read as God's most hated people. God's chosen people were the Romans. They were the prophets. Vespasian was God and Titus was Jesus. It is completely delusional to think for one moment that the prophets were Jews. Bible prophets were Romans. To worship God is to worship Vespasian. To worship Jesus is to worship Titus. Isaiah 45:7. He who forms the light and creates darkness, he who makes peace and creates evil. I am Jehovah who makes all these things. Vespasian's intent was to create evil in Israel and be rich from Jewish wealth. Zechariah 14:1. Indeed, a day is coming for Jehovah when the spoil taken from you will be divided among you. Zechariah 14:2. For I will gather all the nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city will be captured, and the houses plundered, and the women ravished, and half of the city will go forth into captivity, but the rest of the people will not be cut off from the city. Zechariah 14:14. And Judah will also fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the surrounding nations will be gathered together, gold and silver and garments in great abundance. Zechariah 14:9. And Jehovah will be king over all the earth, and in that day Jehovah will be one God, and his name, the one name. 70 CE, the destruction of Jerusalem was completed. Vespasian was God. Most High God. The Capitoline triad worshipped by Romans were Jupiter, Minerva, and Juno. Jupiter was worshipped as the supreme or most high god of paganism. Vespasian was head of the priesthood. He was the high priest. He was also the Pontifex Maximus. He desired a similar lofty title as Jupiter, the supreme god of paganism. Vespasian constructed Catholicism, and it was from this religion that he appointed himself the Most High God. It was from Catholicism Vespasian promoted himself from high priest to Most High God of the God's entity, which comprised of three gods.